Hello and happy Tuesday. I'm so excited to be talking about this topic. Actually, I'll be honest, I was a little bit hesitant to talk about this topic because, there's so many more fun and exciting things to talk about, but this one's been kind of weighing heavily on me. And I know that if I've gone through this, there's somebody else who's going through it too. So before we go into this, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joni Rail. I am a wife, I'm a mom, and something that I'm super passionate about is being a mentor, especially to other moms. But I don't discriminate, so if you're not a mom or you are a guy and you get something from this message, then come one, come all, you're welcome to the ball. I'm glad to have you here. So I'm glad to meet up with current friends, new friends, and please, please, please share, because even if you don't get anything out of this message, I guarantee you there's somebody who needs to hear this. I know I needed to hear it, and first I had to live it and get to the other side of it before I could really share. So I've got my notes. I apologize every time I look down at my notes. I really tried to make it easy to read, and since I'm a mom, I really am going to try to get through this message in about 10 minutes. If not, then we'll just make it a two-parter. But here is my question to you. Are you disqualified? And maybe you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So let's talk about what that means and why in the world would we talk about that? Okay, so as I started to research being disqualified and why I felt disqualified, I also had to look at the meaning of being unqualified. So let's look at what unqualified means first. The dictionary, some wonderful dictionary that I found on the internet, describes unqualified as not having satisfied the relevant conditions or requirements, being inexperienced. So all of us have had a point in our lives where we've been unqualified. I know that when I worked in the financial arena many, many years ago, there was a position I really, really wanted, but I was unqualified for it. The beauty of being unqualified is that more often than not, we can do things to qualify ourselves to get to that point, right? So I may not have been qualified at one point, but I started reaching out to those who were qualified. I started figuring out, what do I need to do? What skills do I need to learn? What tools do I need? What books do I need? What seminar? Whatever it was, I really wanted this position. And not only did I become qualified, I continued to learn in that position. So often we are unqualified, but we can become qualified. So if you have a suggestion or an idea or a time that you were like, yeah, I was unqualified, but with the right determination, the right perspective, the right attitude, the skill set, whatever I needed, I was able to become qualified. And it's such a great feeling when you can become qualified for something that you really want, you're really striving towards. Well, disqualified is totally different. And disqualified, according to some wonderful dictionary I found online, is to be pronounced as ineligible. That word is so powerful, ineligible, for an office, activity, or competition because of an offense. Well, disqualified is a totally different arena, because disqualified doesn't mean we are lacking the skill set, or we're lacking the education, or we're lacking the know-how. We feel like, and sometimes this is true, and often we see it, I think, in sports or politics, somebody is totally disqualified. They are out of the running. More often than not, like it says in the dictionary that I found online, it's because of an offense. Now, when we get a little bit deeper into this, sometimes we're disqualified for certain things in life that have nothing to do with us. So when we're disqualified, it's almost like we feel like we're totally stuck and totally helpless and there's nothing we can do. That is a really horrible feeling, because I've had moments in life where I have felt totally disqualified. And unlike when I wanted to become qualified for that position at the financial institution I was working at. In this case, I was disqualified and felt like there was nothing outside that I could do inside my sphere of power or influence to make me become qualified. So when you're unqualified, you have a sense of power, you have something, you have some control over it. Disqualified often leaves us feeling totally unable to do anything about it. So I looked a little bit further into the word disqualified, because this was the word that went over and over my head for many years regarding a very specific situation. D-I-S, means apart, or a word we don't use very often, asunder. Those of you who are like me that read the Bible, you know there's a few verses that talk about the word asunder. Well, the word asunder means literally divided. So when you become disqualified, you go from being qualified in whatever that may be to disqualified, divided from the things that qualify you, those qualities that make you able to do what it is you want to do. So let me ask you another question. Besides being unqualified, and maybe you have a situation where, yes, you were unqualified and you got the qualifications, you did what you needed to do, it feels so good. What about those times that you were disqualified? And I'm looking at my notes, I apologize. When you feel disqualified due to actions either you've taken or circumstances you find yourself in. Some of the things that I've seen that people, when they become disqualified in life, can kind of pull them under this weight. They can become depressed, they can become angry, they can feel overwhelmed or discouraged. There's that word again, to divide yourself from courage, having courage. And these are some of the examples that I have personally seen or have heard about, or maybe you're dealing with. Let's say that you want to be a mom, you can't wait to be a mom, and then you end up having a situation where you're unable to have children. You find out you cannot physically have children, or maybe you never find that man that you're going to have children with, and you remain single, and you feel disqualified for the very thing that you desperately want to do. Another time I've seen often is the dear friends who have special needs children. And they may have this dream that they're going to travel the world. They can't wait to have kids, and they're going to do all these fun things together. And their plans for the kind of education their kids are going to have. And then they end up, their lives feel very turned upside down because they're in a position where it changes everything. And they feel disqualified from the life that they had imagined or wanted to be able to do, especially as a mom. We don't go into motherhood without having these amazing expectations and goals for our children. We go into it with we can't wait for all these wonderful, fun things to happen. And then when something like that happens, you feel disqualified because it feels like there's nothing you can do to get to that position where you're reaching out for your goals and your dreams and you're able to do what you want with your kids. Something for me very personal is I felt very disqualified in an area that I have always wanted to be a part of, and that is in some sort of mentorship or discipleship or helping to lead, guide other women, especially wives, because I felt very disqualified being in a marriage that is it's often labeled as unequally yoked, or another, for me, a better term is spiritually mismatched. The reason I felt so disqualified from being able to do things in a church setting was because often the things I wanted to do to mentor and to lead and to guide other women, most of the groups, most of the activities, most of the programs must be husband and wife together. And so very often as I would reach out to say, hey, I would love to help disciple in this area, I would be kind of, I don't want to say shut down, but the idea was, this isn't going to really work because it really needs to be a husband and wife team. So often I felt totally disqualified. And it felt like there's nothing I can do about it because the qualifications require something that is completely out of my control. So I think I've gone really close to 10 minutes. That means that unfortunately we're going to have to kind of cut this video right in half. And I'm kind of stopping at the hard point, the hard part, the hard point of this, because it gets really encouraging, it gets really exciting. But I want to ask you, if you are brave enough to go ahead and post and share, what are you disqualified in? What hopes, dreams, visions, aspirations, plans did you have of who you would be or what you would become or what you want to do that you feel you've been disqualified from? Not unqualified, but simply like, this can't even happen for me now. I'm out of the running. This is what I wanted. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm totally, and the word is disqualified. That's the word that went over and over in my head for years. You're disqualified. You're disqualified. Not from anybody else, but that's what I began to realize. The very place that I wanted to serve others and help others was the very place that I was disqualified. So, if you're brave enough, I would love to see, because this is hard. This is really hard, because if you haven't gotten past that point to where I'm at now, to be able to say, guess what, doesn't matter that I was disqualified. If you're still in this position, this is a really hard thing to maybe even voice, because you're like, I don't even want to say it, because I feel like it's so impossible, because my circumstances that I have been put into are truly impossible. Doesn't mean that I'm not living my life, living with joy. Doesn't mean I haven't changed things. It just means that I feel like what I once really was excited about or desired or envisioned is no longer possible. So before we go into the next, so again, please post. I understand if you don't want to, because it is a scary thing to just admit. I want you to be thinking about something very, very important, because I'm going to ask you again in the next video this week. If you are disqualified, who told you you were disqualified and why? So be thinking about those things, and I'm really looking forward to getting to the other side of this, because I'll admit, when I started to, really kind of get into this and look at it more deep and figure out how did I go from that place of being disqualified to where I am now, where I feel more than qualified, and you'll see why. It's hard. It hurts. There's disappointment. Like I said, those feelings that you have, those are real feelings, and we need to look at why we have them. So please take time, but be encouraged, and come back, watch the second part of this, because I think you're going to be really excited to see that you don't have to stay in that place, and it doesn't mean that what you desired no longer applies to you. All right, so thank you so much for showing up and spending time with me. I really appreciate it, because I know we all have a lot going on in life. Again, please share this. I know that there's somebody out there who needs to hear this message, who needs to be encouraged. This was something I needed to hear many years ago, so I really want somebody to be encouraged and be blessed by this. And thank you again for showing up, and I will talk to you all later.